Okay, this is the Pod Management and VOLTHA FCAPS Brigade for October 21st, 2019. I have started the recording. This meeting is a public meeting. It will be recorded and placed on our YouTube channel. So please keep that in mind that anything you say will be made public. We're ready to get started. First up will be a demo by Gautam. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Are you ready to begin?
Um, Hi Scott, yeah, this is Gautam here, and we are ready to begin the demo. So Naga is the person who has implemented this feature as part of Volta 2.2. So he'll be taking you through the demo.
Who is that? Who I should make presenter?
Naga Chetan. Naga Chetan, NAGA. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. It's just taking me a minute. You should have presentation rights now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everyone. So today we'll be going through with the PM metrics. So this is basically collect stats from the OLT. So the current framework is to get the stats from the OpenOLT agent, where via the gRPC for every 10 seconds, the stats will be pushed to the PM metric structure. I guess, yeah. So once the PM metrics is stored into the structure for every 10 seconds, there will be a start collector will be started. So this start collector will be started for every OLT device once it gets added and enabled. So once the adopt device is started, executed, then the start collector will be started. So once the start collector is initiated with the polling time and everything, so let's, for example, like I have given it for 150 seconds over here. So for every 150 seconds, it will be keep looping, and it will collect from the structure PM metrics what is been stored here, and it will be posted to the Kafka. So this will be posted to the volta.events topic. And whenever the device gets deleted, the collector will be stopped. So this is currently I'm collecting for NNI and the PONPUT stats, where the TX, RX packets, bytes, those parameters will be collected for now. So ongoing, we will be taking with the thermal stats and further statistics, which will be part of the similar framework.
So question, when
yes.
you look at systems that collect stats from a large number of devices on a network, periodically, they typically stagger them so that you're not getting all devices pulled at once, and in this case, all devices pushed, all those stats pushed to Kafka at once. So everything is still pulled every 5 minutes or whatever the interval is, but they're staggered across a larger time duration. Have you thought about how that might work in this scenario?
So the performance perspective, this will be like, so whenever the publish are into the Go routines, so we won't be hitting the blocking calls during the loop time. So
it's not so much blocking. It's not so much blocking. It's that if all these collectors are independent and they all start at the same time or near the same time, that means every 5 minutes you're going to get incredibly load in terms of the CPU, network, and Kafka at every 5 minute interval or whatever the interval is they pull. If you stagger them and say, I'm going to do some now and then some at T+2, then some at T+3, so that you kind of level balance the load across a time period. So it's not a performance, it's how do you not get these burst loads every time you do a collection period if they all happen to hit at the same
time? Yes. So currently for now, with the device handler, with the device handler, I'm initiating these wait time and everything, instantiating at that time. So this can be like from the northbound API for every VoLT when we are getting added. We can actually configure the time interval so that like it can be staggered. Like for each VoLT, we can define like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, so that like the important VoLTs, we can have a higher priority with frequent stats collection. And for the lower backup voltage, we can have it for lesser frequency time. So that can be configurable from the northbound. Currently, that expose is not done. So only the instantiating from there on, it is from the below southbound is present now.
Yeah. But we can take the feedback.
Yeah. So that if we need, like we can take the upper northbound requesting as a user request, we can consider that as well.
Yeah, I don't think David was suggesting having different intervals, but different just different times when these are run. Just that they aren't, they could all run every 150 seconds. They could just at different start times.
Yes, yes, Scott David. So we got your point there. So maybe that is not currently taken care of in this design. So maybe we can add this as an input, and we'll try to have this as part of the implementation when we push the code. Rework on this.
All right,
Sure. And one more thing, like when we are trying to add OLTs, like there will be certain again interval of time we are adding it. So from the user. So might be that again, like add little different timestamps for each OLT activation. However, I will work on that staggering part.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'll make a note that you guys are going to look into that.
Yeah. Thanks.
So jumping into the demo part, like, so currently, if I log the VOLTHA, so I have a VoLT and the ONU getting provision with all the activations are done now. So I'm pumping the data from the Spirent. So RG is pumping the traffic continuously. If I do a Kafka cat, so if I stats, so if I go from the bottom, like the stats are getting increased for the dashboard. So we have the RX bytes, RX packets, RX MCAST, RX. So all these parameters I have subscribed. So if you want, you can subscribe any other parameters for that particular VoLT, and only those particular subscribed stats will be displayed. And so for PON ports, like for PON port ID 0, this is the stats. Currently, I have connected one ONU to the PON 1. So for PON 1, again the packets TX RX bytes have been increasing there. So this is collecting for every 150 seconds.
So you mentioned there's a mechanism to subscribe to different fields within those stats. How does that work? Is that just
during the
API call?
initialization? Yeah, so during the initialization, we need to provide what all metrics we need and the frequency of the polling time. So these two parameters are required. So later on, if we need it to configurable frequently, then we can expose it as a for the northbound, and that can be a configurable. Okay. And so these are the outputs it's actually populating with. So if we keep on, I'm just searching for a number of previous ones. Then the packets are keep changing. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, so how this subscription of field happens?
Subscription
Of the fields?
The fields.
Yeah. During the initialization time, we actually subscribe it. Like
Initialization means when you initialize your own subsystem.
device metrics, we need to initialize it at the first. So that time we initialize like what all matrices we need it, and the frequency of the polling time as such. So these parameters we need to initialize in the device manager, so that like it gets initialized and particular informations will be passed on to fetch those particular matrices.
So how do you initialize this?
There is a function called device PM matrix. That using that we will subscribe, will initialize it. Like during the device in the device manager, we actually do an init of those.
If I want
and
to
then
change that, if I want to change that, then
yeah, for currently we have not exposed it.
As of now, it's hard coded. We have in the OpenVolt adapter itself, we have registered what all PMs we need.
yeah,
So as of now, we can't change it. Further, probably we can expect something and make it configurable.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All the things is only doing a get, right? No set operation.
No, this
it's
Sorry?
Yeah, it is actually a get operator.
No get. Sorry.
No set op.
No set.
Yeah.
So like say I'm looking here the RX bytes, right? So if you add the next one like the RX packet, you would get, currently let's say assume it is 6. When you try to get the next time, it would be how would it start? It would only get from the open OLT the current RX packet value and display, correct?
Yes, current. So this will be the exact data which is being pumped from the OLT NNI port.
This is what the open OLT packet counter is, and this is extracting that information out.
Exactly, yeah. From the OpenVolt agent, these informations will be fetched and will be given back to the OpenVolt adapter. And from the adapter, we'll be fetching these values.
Okay, got it. And
so this will be the.
So is there a timestamp on these messages so that one can reconstitute statistics over time from them?
Yeah. So the timestamp is those things are as well added. Those were part of the review comments. So I'm actually added in the latest code. So that will be pushing it in a day or two. So
Okay, great.
the rotation is going on, yeah.
So you mean
Yeah.
an application using this data can calculate like a rate or something like that based on the two information retrieved from here.
Yes.
Okay.
Just looking at your data here, you got nulls in your data. I'm not sure how that's not really valid, Jason.
This is a protobuf message. I have decoded it.
Okay. I was looking at the one below it where it's got the two nulls.
Yeah, David, I think this was Kafka cat pipe through proto C to decode. So this is
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
this is not
All right.
presumably
I have decoded proto C decoder.
Wanted to add something on what David mentioned. Like if there are too many OLTs fetching stats and just posting it to Kafka about the performance. So how many OLTs we are expecting from one OLT adapter? 10, 20? Anything below 20, 30 should be fine, I believe. It's the ONU adapter which should fall a bit, which has to implement this timestamp related query posting to Kafka, because there will be a lot of ONUs instead of OLTs. Any thoughts, David?
Excuse me. Trying to understand that. Yeah, there'll be more than ONUs than OLTs. I'm not sure I followed completely. Go ahead.
No, what I was saying was from in an OLT adapter, an OLT adapter can, I don't know, we haven't tried as know how many we are trying to bring up, how many OLTs will it be able to handle in one single pod.
Mm-hmm.
So more than that, there will be ONUs. So OLT will not be a problem. OLT adapters posting data posting to Kafka will not be a problem, I believe.
Okay.
It will be the ONUs, because there will be thousands of ONUs who will be posting their data, PM metrics data to Kafka. So I think so. This should be fine, I believe.
Okay. The idea is though, anytime you're doing polling, and you want to avoid spikes, right? And so you want to divide your polling cycles up into buckets so that everybody's still getting polled every 5 minutes. It's just you're not publishing them all at once. Now, it'd be, in my mind at least, it'd be easier to cover both OLTs and ONUs in kind of the same way, rather than have one implementation for one and one implementation for the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know what you could do is some kind of a hash algorithm based on some random number generation, and the key would be the MAC address of the OLT which you're polling. So it's kind of a random way of polling a particular OLT, right?
Yeah, you just have to watch your hash algorithm because again, if I have all my devices are the same vendor, the first 3 bytes are going to be the same in the MAC address, if not, more.
So you take the hash of the MAC, something like that, right?
So you just need to make sure that you have the hash is going to equally distribute based across your MAC addresses.
Correct, no doubt.
Okay.
Some kind of algorithm you need to design, and that can be applied to all ONU, OLT, or anything else. And I'm sure this is not the first time. It's an engineering problem, right? So.
Now, you mentioned also collecting optical and thermal data with this. Is that also the plan in addition to these transmit and receive numbers?
Yeah, so the thermal is in progress. So by this week or so, I'll be posting that as well.
So how does that overlap with the redfish work? Is redfish also collecting these optical and thermal data? Is it the same data?
So the way I'm trying to do is with the OpenVolt agent. So the OpenVolt agent will actually query from the ONL of the OLT, and it will be posting to the same store metrics, PM metrics structure, and the rest of the same framework will collect it. So
I think there's no overlap with the redfish.
so there is no overlap with the redfish. So the redfish will be the top layer. He won't be able to query from the OLT, right?
What thermal information? Is it the thermal information of the pluggables or the thermal information from the device or both?
Thermal information of the CPU on the OLT.
From the temperature sensors located on the PCBs type of thing?
Yes. So that will be the PCB temperature sensor. So I'll be querying it from the ONL APIs.
Oh, through ONLP, you're getting that information.
Yeah.
Okay. I would assume that information is available through redfish. Maybe currently not, but my assumption is that I know the fan information and all the other thermal information is available through redfish.
Yeah, I think it is available.
Okay.
So should we continue with this thermal observation, or should we try to use redfish in this case? Or redfish can.
So redfish is an expandable API type of infrastructure, and so redfish itself gathers all that low-level hardware information from a device, and temperature sensor, anything on the I2C bus for the most part, including the pluggable information. And then within the pluggables, there's stuff within the EEPROMs and the pluggables that could be exposed through redfish also. So I guess I was viewing redfish as doing exposing eventually all the hardware primitives, or the information on the hardware itself, whereas the statistics weren't really information on the hardware. That's something that comes and goes. The underlying hardware is a constant that's always there, the temp sensors and the fans and the power supplies and that kind of stuff. I guess that's direction. I guess the group has to determine how they're going to leverage these different mechanisms for collecting information, and then decide, is redfish going to be used for all the low-level hardware stuff, and then some other method for statistics, and some other method for something yet higher up, perhaps.
So in that case, should we continue with this thermal acquisition of the thermal data from the ONL, or should we consider the thermal data would be part of the redfish implementation and take it as part of the redfish integration with OLT? So should we go ahead with this exploration, or wait till we are good to go with redfish?
I don't know, Dinesh, what's your thought? Is that information already exposed?
I think so.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, I
then
think
maybe
there should be some concern that we don't duplicate efforts. So if the redfish importer is already addressing that, I would say let's not spend a whole lot of time getting this mechanism to expose the same thing. But if we could document in your story exactly what information you were considering, as well as in Dinesh's stories, document what information the redfish importer is providing, maybe that would help us avoid duplication.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We'll share the details as part of the brigade mails. as part of the Volta tickets mentioned above, 1381 and 1091.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Yep.
And then Dinesh, you'll also keep an eye on this just to make sure that you guys are working on separate subsets of information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, if everyone can keep an eye on what we're all doing, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else to discuss on this topic or anything else you guys would like to present?
We are done from our side.
Yeah, that's it from our side.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for sharing this. This looks really good. The other thing, we don't have Ganesh on today, but I would like to, I'll send him a note to point him at this, that he should also be paying attention because he's going to want his Kafka topic exporter to look at these messages that are showing up on Kafka and get them into Prometheus. So I've given myself an action item to let Ganesh know about this work, make sure he's aware.
Yeah,
Yes.
regarding this, there was some discussion about staggering how much data you can put on Kafka, right? So how do you decide how many devices at a one time can put data on Kafka?
So for every interval of time, it will be posting to the Kafka, and there will be a expiry time for the Kafka so that it do a garbage collection itself.
Yeah. So currently we are on that, but maybe if you have other team has some inputs and how much data we can push, we can design a solution.
That's why I wanted to know, how do you decide how much data you can push on Kafka and how many devices at one time can push data on Kafka, and how do you stagger after number of devices? So we'll have to decide number of devices pushing data on the Kafka, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, some analysis might be helpful. So if we knew, for example, that a pod could have 16 OLTs, each OLT has, one NNI and a number of PON ports, someone could calculate how many messages per interval we're talking here. That it might be helpful to have an estimate of that someplace.
It's a total of 16 messages.
Yeah. So
150. Yeah, we can actually benchmark with the set of informations we can post it, and so 16 to 56.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just wanted to.
Okay, well, thanks, guys.
yeah, maybe we can
Go ahead.
no, we are done from our side.
Okay, I'm going to go off to go through the JIRA and look at some status reports then if there's no more discussion on this particular item. I'll give myself presenter back.
I guess if Kit can mute, it will be good.
Okay, yeah, so we'll start with going through the JIRA, starting with Dinesh. Go ahead, Dinesh.
I can't read the JIRA actually.
It's not big enough?
No.
There, that should make it a little bit bigger. Can you see it now? Yeah, just kind of give us an idea of what you're working. I think what you're working on. Let's see, where is the item? I know. Yeah, I think you're working on the API design document at the moment.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we have Taskin online with us. Just to get an idea, Dinesh, what else do we need before we can consider the API document complete? I'm aware there was still an open point of discussion on the timestamp format. Is there anything else, or is everything else in that document ready for you to go with?
Time? No, I don't think there was anything to do with timestamp.
By times I meant frequency. Whether it's
Yeah, but we closed that saying that we'll provide in seconds this thing. The only concern I have is about the config file. I'm not sure if this config file importer will parse the config, and how my understanding was something above the importer will parse the config file and create the commands and APIs for importer and load the config kind of thing. Not the importer itself can call its API or what it is.
Yeah, so I guess the question would be what is the function of the config file? I thought when we were talking about email, we were talking about maybe there's no config file necessary and that everything is configured through the API.
Yeah, I thought same. So I think we should give priority to finish the APIs.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And your belief was we had closed the frequency thing, making it in seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, if you could update the document to make sure, and if there are any of those frequency fields that are still strings, change them to seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we will consider the API document closed out. David,
Yeah.
you were the other one primarily reviewing that document. Do you have any questions, concerns?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, great. So Dinesh, we're ready to close that document and start implementing the API then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah, let me go. The next people, I think Ankar and Ganesh are both away today. I don't think they're available. So we'll get their status either later in the week or next time.
I think there is an election where they are.
Oh, you think it's election day there?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to see how that. I'll have to watch the news, see how that turns out. Let's see. So Nagashiden, your status. You kind of gave it as part of the demo, I assume. Let's see. Next up would be Divya.
Hey, hi. Hi, Scott.
Morning.
Okay, sorry. I made the changes for this VOLTHA API server related to POPs, and I submitted the code for the internal review. I'm waiting for the review comments from my architect and all. Once that comes, then if everything is fine according to them, then I'll commit for the Gerrit review.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'll try to get that reviewed today. What would be your next item as soon as that is merged?
Actually, I have some pending items for older JIRAs which I took up because I submitted those JIRAs for the Gerrit review and I got some comments back. So right now I am working on those things. Once I'm done with those pending items, I'll take up new JIRA. I'll look into new JIRA.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll maybe touch base later in the week to see what new work is coming in. Next up would be Rohan.
Yeah, hi Scott. So today only I've submitted one patch set for this pros for OLT adapters, but for some reason the Jenkins is failed, I guess. So by tomorrow I'll be again seeing on this. I'll try to see why that Jenkins failed and upload a new patch set tomorrow.
Yeah, if you have any issues with Jenkins, don't hesitate to ask us. There were particularly on Friday there were some problems with with the sanity check due to Helm version incompatibilities. But I think we have at least temporarily resolved that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're having other inexplicable Jenkins things,
Okay.
you can always ask on the stabilization channel or in the VOLTHA channel, wherever you feel is most appropriate, and we'll or the QA channel, and we'll look into it for you.
And just do a recheck
Yeah,
sometimes to
sure,
make it
Scott.
work.
Yeah, sometimes the best thing with
Yeah, sure, Scott,
Jenkins,
sure.
the best thing with Jenkins is just persistence. If it fails once, recheck it one or two more times and just see if it was just a fluke. I always do that before giving it much investigative time.
Yeah, sure, Scott. I'll try that.
Okay, next up would be Devmalya. I don't think he's online, but he did give me his status, and that status was that was working on the design document for filtering of events, and we'll probably have that ready by next meeting. Let's see, we've covered you, Dinesh. Next up would be Dilip.
Yes, I just started working on for the test plan to test the APIs. So, so the document is kind of ready, but I have a side discussion going on with Dinesh to see if, those APIs are, is there any further improvement needed on the API definitions? And I guess I'm trying to have the conversation with him, especially the first one, the registration of the device. So I'm seeing because there might be more parameters which could be added. So that's why I'm having a conversation with him to see how that API can be made it like a future-proof, robust.
Okay, great. Yeah,
So
I imagine you guys will be working together on that quite a bit.
yes, yeah.
So these are functional tests you're primarily looking at, or unit tests, or both?
I was looking more the functional test, the unit test. I'm sure we have to do a much more thorough unit test. I guess the task which was assigned to me was to make this the bigger umbrella of a test plan. And if there are like about 6 or 10 APIs, and then each would have like maybe 6 to 10 test cases, so it's kind of a lot of test cases. And I haven't even thought of much of scale and things like that, but there's going to be a lot of test cases, and I'm sure it takes a lot of time to get these things done.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll look forward to seeing your document. The one thing I just did want to mention with respect to functional testing is that we do within the QA team they do use robot framework a lot. So if you are not familiar with robot framework, maybe investigate some of the QA testing they've done, learn a little bit about that, and see if that would be applicable when it does come time to write your functional tests, just for keeping everything using a similar framework.
Okay, sure. I'll take a look.
Okay, let me see who is next. So Ganesh is off, Ankar's off. Ken is not on this call, I don't think. I know we've got more people. Maybe their items are not showing up. So let's see who else. Just looking at my notes. Let's see. Have we done Divya yet? Are you on? Yeah, you're on call, Divya. Could you talk as to your status?
Hello.
Morning.
Yeah, Scott, I updated my status.
Hi, Scott. I guess it's me. Aishwarya?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hello?
Hi, Ashwarya. I hear you.
Hi, everyone. So from my update, like I'm working on some of the ONT related alarms. And to work on that, we have to do some part of coding on OpenOLT agent. And we have to have, like right now it's VAL 3.1 version of OpenOLT agent. And we had, since it's not released yet, but I'm working on having those OpenOLT agent built and installed on OpenOLT driver. And we need to install some of the software on OpenOLT edge core itself. So I'm in the process of doing some hardware configuration to make sure that it properly works with VOLTHA 2.x before actually implementing the ONT alarms. So yes, right now I'm just implementing those, installing those software on edge core OLT. And then I will start coding on OpenOLT agent with VAL 3.1 version.
Okay, great. Yeah. Keep us apprised of how that's coming along.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that end-to-end testing works properly with the new agent before implementing anything on old agent. Hello? Yeah, that's it from my side. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Hi, I hear you.
Yeah, was it clear? I mean, yeah, that's all from my side.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry. I think I was talking on mute. Yeah. So, have I missed anyone? Do we have everyone who is currently tackling stories? Okay, I think that covers everyone then. Is there any other brigade business we would like to discuss? If not, we will conclude and resume next Monday. Okay, thank you, everyone. And
Thank you.
I'll be in touch over Slack and such during the week, but we'll talk to you all on Monday again. Bye all.